I think the students are yet to join.
Yeah. Some of them are
Okay.
taking time.
So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of School of Journalism and Mass Communication, Oro University, Surat. Today, we have with us Saumil Shah, who is the CEO of Ahmedabad-based company NetSquare. And more important is a very crucial introduction is that he's one of those old school hackers who really introduced us as a country, as a society, to the literacy about hacking and the concept of cybersecurity. Welcome, Somil, and I'm glad that you are here with our students and visitors and my colleagues who are present here in the webinar. As everyone knows, cybersecurity has now become a very crucial part of our life. The second phase of the lockdown has made us very clear about what are the issues we face in the very tool that we are using. Zoom has been under question so many times, and there have been so many attacks on different Zoom conferences that we keep hearing about. On the whole, cybersecurity particularly is of more concern now than before, Saumil. Mainly, I guess, because we are getting more used to a virtual life rather than a real life.
Yes.
Lockdown has made us live the real life more virtually, and as time passes, we will be living more and more virtually. That's what my guess is. I feel that as the vaccine is about 1.5 years away, and the administration of vaccine, they say, to the entire world's population to develop a mass immunity, which will ensure that we can go back to our normal lives as before, will be about 3 years from now. This has been estimations in media. It means at least until then, we have to learn to live a little differently, which means that we will not be able to gather, commute, travel, and use much of one-on-one interaction that we are used to for so many generations. Which essentially means we will be doing our business more and more digitally. And that means we have to be more cyber savvy. We have to be more used to be concerned about issues related to cyberspace and why the security matters to us. Now, Samil, I would like you to take over from here with just one request. That we would like a lot of questions and answers at the end of the session with students and with other visitors who are here. And please take over from here. Over to yeah.
All right. Shyam, thank you so much for the introduction. Shyam and I met over very unusual circumstances. We initially started a discussion on, we got together on a photography theme, but very quickly photography gave way to science fiction. And it is when I realized that Shyam's, he's a sci-fi guy. He just pretends to be a journalist and does his daily work. Just as I feel that I am a sci-fi guy and an artist, and I also pretend to do this hacking as a daily job, but our real identities are at the core are sci-fi. And to be in science fiction, you have to have a massively active imagination, and the imagination to kind of think where we are going, not just in terms of space and lasers and all, but as a society. What is the future of Earth? What is the future of humanity? And both of us keep reading about these things. Over the years, I think we've collaborated now for more than 5 years and done a lot of discussions off and on. This talk is, I would not entirely attribute this talk to me. I would say that this talk is based upon my learnings from discussions with people like Shyam and with many other people around the world. This is my exploration of cyberspace over the past 20 years. I've been fortunate to take a peek into cyberspace for about 20-25 years now, and kind of seen it grow. I have been there in the early part of history. That is my good fortune, and because of that I've been able to observe and extrapolate where we are going. So this talk essentially explores what cyberspace is and what its impact on society. We all know what cyberspace is. We all are learning about cyber. I mean, we are all living in cyberspace more or less. But a few months ago, it actually occurred to me on a very sci-fi theme that we have planet Earth and we also have planet Cyberspace. These are two planets. They're superimposed one on top of each other. And just like, the explorers, the Vasco da Gamas who came, crossed over the unknown seas to a different part of the world, which existed within their world, but they never knew it existed until they crossed the bridge. We are explorers into cyberspace, and it's a new world. We want to see what is waiting there. But just like, any sci-fi novel goes, when you enter a new world, new laws apply. Laws of nature, laws of physics, laws of thought. And that is what I want to explore with you. So my introduction, my name is Saumil Shah. You will have to put up with me for about 45 minutes. Being in a virtual environment is great because you can walk out of the room and you don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. In a real environment, the speakers, out of respect, you have to pay attention to the speakers. But enough about that. Let's explore about the talk. So like I said, this talk is about several factors. First, I'm going to talk about evolution, because no discussion on society can be done without a due discourse on evolution. Where we go depends a lot upon where we came from. We're going to talk about some asymmetries that apply. Sorry. And it is very important to pay cognizance to these asymmetries. We're going to, of course, talk about cyberspace and the nature of cyberspace. We're also going to talk about this concept called sovereignty and freedom, which today is very, very pertinent to society. And then we will see what our learnings are from there. Okay. This talk is focused on India. And, let us try and recognize India's space in this world. If you draw it with a typical world map, I can say India is there. Here we are. But truly, if you put India into perspective, why is Mark Zuckerberg so interested repeatedly in trying to take over India Telecom? It looks like he's succeeding now with the whole Geo thing, hand in glove, is because this is truly what India is. This is the same map of India represented by population count. And you see how large of a country we are. Not only are we large, we are an anglicized country of 26 different countries living within itself, speaking 843 languages and an immensely diverse genetic mix-up. Tell me who would not be interested in us. And that's who we are. We are actually massively prominent on this scale. Okay. So first, let me talk about evolution. These are two portraits, two fathers of evolution. The gentleman on the left, you will recognize rather readily. His name is Charles Darwin. He is also the accidental founder of the Darwin Awards. For those of you who follow the Darwin Awards, they are awarded to individuals who improve the human gene pool by removing themselves from it. It's a very sarcastic way of this posthumous award. It is awarded to people who die in the most stupid ways. It's a very, very odd sense of humor. But it's kind of fun. It shows you that sometimes the fittest, the survival of fittest is kind of what applies all the time. The person on the right, I would say, is the father of technical evolution. His name is Gordon Moore. Few of you may recognize this name as the founder of Intel Corporation. Gordon Moore also has an award, which is awarded within the lifetime of the recipient. This goes towards excellence in electrical engineering. It is by no means sarcastic and morbid. But Gordon Moore told us a very prophetic statement in the mid-60s, a statement which has kind of charted the course of technical evolution till this day. And this was called Moore's Law. Moore's Law stated that the number of components per integrated circuit, the microchip, the components in a microchip shall double every couple of years. This has tremendous impact. What it means is that, the pocket calculator started out in the 60s. It had a few thousand transistors on there. And today your mobile phone has a few billion, with a B, not an M, a few billion transistors in there in the same size format. This is Moore's law at work over the past 50 years. The impact of Moore's law, we need to really recognize and digest. We all know that humans are not used to exponential curves. The current pandemic being exponential in nature, we are not able to deal with it. Humans were not built to think beyond normal linear progression. Technology is an exponential curve, and it is very clear we are not able to digest technology. We have a little bit too much of technology that we are built for digestion, and that is impacting our society in several different ways. This brings us to a very fundamental shift. And I did this presentation earlier, parts of this presentation earlier in February. Between February and April, so many fundamental things have changed that I was forced to reevaluate this slide. So what I'm talking about is asymmetry number one, the shift of global power. It was very clear that power in the 20th century was oil. Power in the 21st century is data. Now, today, if you look at oil, the prices are indicative of how important oil is. So imagine the kind of geopolitical power shift that is happening right now. Whereas data has one fundamental property, which is very, very different than oil. And the property of data is the following. If you spend more oil, if you use oil, you lose oil. The more data you process, the more data accumulates. Data generates data. And the more data you have, the more data you're going to build upon. This asymmetry is phenomenal to note, because what this means is that those who have power will keep on multiplying the power rapidly. Let me take another situation right now. Give you an example of how technical evolution has happened. Right. This is a photograph of a very, very dear friend of mine, Dr. Vardarajan Srinidhi. He and I used to work at IIM Ahmedabad together. And well, at IIM, we were building up the IIM networks and sometimes occasionally playing Prince of Persia and things like that. But Srinidhi went on to do a lot of great things. What you see in the background is a supercomputer that Srinidhi built while being a professor at Virginia Tech. There's something very important about Srinidhi's computer, which I call as breakthrough. Srinidhi's computer consisted of a very simple system of 1,100 Apple Macintosh computers, G5s. These were the first 1,100 that were produced by Apple, and the first 1,100 were sold to Srinidhi. Srinidhi was looking to build a supercomputer. His passion has always been in high performance computing. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Sorry. In this distracted world, you have like 20,000 notifications popping up. So I have to tell everybody to stop bothering me. Okay. So Srinidhi built his computer out of 1,100 G5s, common off-the-shelf computers that were available in a store. And his whole idea was that I can build a supercomputer 10 times cheaper than what the first 12 supercomputers were. It proved correct. In 2003, he was inducted as the number 3 supercomputer in the world. His system crossed 12 teraflops. What 12 teraflops means is 12 trillion computing, 12 trillion floating point operations per second. Sorry. To be in the supercomputing club, you have to be basically greater than 10 teraflops. And what Srinidhi did is he demonstrated this computing power for less than $10 million. At that time, such computing power was only available for $100 million. This was in 2003. Now, back then, what can supercomputers do? Supercomputers are used to calculate very, very complex things like missile trajectories, real-time war game simulation, weather, and so many largely defense-oriented computing needs. Because you have to basically play games with populations, massive populations, and figure out how each individual component of a population is going to react in a simulation, and then figure out the outcome. This is what the true power of supercomputing is. Today, let us fast forward the tape. Most of you will be familiar with the brand name NVIDIA. A lot of you have these NVIDIA chips in your phones and computers already. And this is a photograph of the NVIDIA Xavier. NVIDIA Jetson, they make these little computing units. These are graphical processing units. Let's look at the specs of the NVIDIA Xavier. It has a 512 CPU core with all these TensorFlow and whatnot. The key figure to take a look at is this little dabba. It is about this big. The square that I'm making with my hand is this big. This dabba can do 11 teraflops, 11 trillion floating point operations per second. The same as Srinidhi's supercomputer in 2003, which took about 3 roomfuls of computing equipment. This little boy can do. The price, I looked it up on Amazon. Abhi, Amazon is not delivering, but they would deliver for a grand total of 1,24,000 rupees with free delivery to my doorstep in 2 days once the lockdown opens. So what does this mean in terms of technical evolution? We have the capability of supercomputing on our desktop. We can analyze en masse what an entire population will do simply by putting the power of a desktop together. And now imagine if we networked all these supercomputers or built a supercomputer, what kind of power does it have right now? This is one point to consider. The next is, I want to take up this evolutionary milestone. And this is the realization I had in 2007. I always have these discussions with my father about, where we are headed. And my father is an electronics enthusiast. He built, he liked to play electric guitar, so he built his own amplifier. And because he wanted to build his amplifier, he had to learn electronics, so his circuit banani padegi, and then put it all together. And there's no internet, there's no Google to help him back then. So he had to make it work the hard way by research and by trial and error. As a self-taught electronics enthusiast. And as a child saw him, as I was growing up, I used to see him in the lab making these little alarm controllers, making these blinky lights, automatic turning of lamps when you clap, or intercom systems and all, using these transistors, and you put them in these Nasta box dabbas and make it work. And now today, when I started playing with electronics, I started playing with little microprocessors, Arduinos and hobby kits, and simply programming them. So what we now know is that the microprocessor is the new transistor. Today you can throw a microprocessor in for as cheap as 2 cents per microprocessor. The ARM Cortex M0 is available for 2 cents a piece if you buy it in bulk. You can put a microprocessor in every light bulb in the house. You can this microprocessors are as cheap and as plentifully available as transistors. And they have the programming capacity, which is, better than PCs 10 years ago. With this evolution, what have we led to? In 2007, another evolution was taking place. The first evolution towards a digital society. And, evolution takes place, a new innovation can happen only when you have the necessary soup available for it to take place. The recipes, I'm going to give you these 4 clues. We have 3G networks that evolved in 2007, became quite commonplace. We have portable microcontrollers like the Raspberry Pi. They were also plentifully available and cheap. We have GPS systems, both by the United States and the USSR in operation. And you have breakthroughs in lithium-ion batteries, portable power. Logically, if you think, what would this give birth to? The new mammal on the environment was, of course, the iPhone. The iPhone succeeded only because these factors were in place. Had one of these factors not been in place, the iPhone would not have been successful. It took all these environmental factors for the iPhone to succeed. Similarly, what we also didn't realize is that what happened with the iPhone is that we started taking our first steps to digital society. We began sharing our lives a little too excessively on social networks. And this is where a very interesting thing happened. Humans are not built to tackle cyberspace. Our evolution has not yet supported it. And what you will see is that humans exhibit a very, very different behavior in reality and in virtuality. In reality, we are one person. In virtuality, we may have the same identity, but our behavior is completely different. And there's a reason for it, which I will explore with you in a little while. But silently, the same factors that give birth to the iPhone, the same factors, have also given birth to something very different, which we all know, but we have failed to recognize its importance. And this is the birth of mechanical autonomy. Let me give you an example. So, mechanical autonomy, you all know it. This is the first device that we can say is mechanically autonomous. It is a drone. It is a self-contained unit that can fly. It has locomotion. It has sight. It has processing capabilities. It can be programmed, and it can even react to changes in the environment rather dynamically. A gust of wind, it will reposition itself. It can follow a course. It can avoid obstacles. And this is now commonplace. Kids are playing with a drone. If we want to fast forward the clock to about, 2017, I have a video here, which the video doesn't really play well as expected. Let me see if I can play the video separately for you. But basically, let me figure that out in a little bit. But what you have here is a fully functional Boston Dynamics robot. This robot can jump. This robot can spin. This robot can do handstands just like a real human being can. This is both exciting and terrifying. The exciting fact is that now robots can move just like humans can do. That is because of the processing power. The high performance processing power in its computer allows it to think faster than gravity. If it detects that it is falling, it can make corrections dynamically, just like our humans can. We have dynamic equilibrium. We are built for it. We are evolution masters of dynamic equilibrium. The robots are not quite there, but the processing power is allowing them to compute dynamic equilibrium in real time, and therefore they can do all these tricks that this robot would do. I will pull up the video, but not right now. I don't want to take a diversion in the talk. Now, the terrifying part is, who is to say that this robot will not be given a gun? And what is to say that this robot will not be programmed with a target on which the programmer will say it is okay to fire the gun? You folks already know this. This is happening. You're all aware of this, not with robots, with something else. The US Predator drones that they're flying, what are these drones doing? They are flown by a pilot, they're flown by a human pilot, but they're flown remotely. They may also be very well turned autonomous and just program that these are the targets, unleash your Hellfire missiles and destroy these villages en masse. We don't give a damn. So the autonomy given to machines is kind of taking us in a direction which we will not be able to reverse. And this brings us to another evolutionary factor, the evolution of the internet. You know, if you look at all these pundits on LinkedIn, all the thought leaders and all, they talk about all these buzzwords today. So let me give you like an accelerated 20-year buzzword journey. First, we started with the World Wide Web. Everybody's talking about it. Then everybody started talking about e-commerce and Web 2.0. Chalo, ye bhi theek hai. Now, you know, the buzzword now is social networks and cloud, where we have transformed both computing and human identity into virtuals. So you have virtual machines and virtual humans. And what is more, that you have big data. You have massive amounts of data being generated on the internet. Not only are they being generated, remember the slide I told you about super computing. This massive amount of data can also be processed in near real time. So let us tie the two evolutionary factors and see where it goes. To kind of give you an idea of the amount of data that you have on the internet, let's take a look at the numbers. This information might very well be old because it is only 2 months ago that I researched the numbers. The numbers will be way off now. So if all the data on the internet is to be totaled up and figured out, right? The data on the internet consists of, give me a second, 44 zettabytes. These are units that even we don't know. So basically, every 3 zeros, you get a different unit. You know, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, then you have petabyte, exabyte, and zettabytes. So total data on the internet is 44 zettabytes of data. Now the beauty of this is 90% of this data has been generated only in the past 2 years. This is the rate at which data is being added on the internet. Every day, India wakes up 3 to 4 billion WhatsApp good morning messages are being sent. Only India can do this. And this is what led the mighty WhatsApp to rate limit the amount of good mornings that you can do. It's simply because it just brought the damn network to its knees. How much of good morning data can you generate within like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.? Yeah, and this is happening. You know, all of us have this WhatsApp group with, you know, families and friends. As usual, the most vocal person on that group is the most jobless person. वो बैठे शांति से सुबह चाय पी के good morning, the whole day gossip, and then politics happens because they're all parliamentarians. They can all take decisions on behalf of not just the Indian government, but any government in the world. You know, they're the masters of the known universe. And then towards the end of the day, there will be good night messages, all the suvakyos, and then the cycle begins again. This is our data. But you know what? It's not just the data. It is exhibiting our behavior. And there are very many interested parties in our behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Please be very, very careful and cognizant of this fact. Let me bring up the point again. Why is Facebook so interested in buying over Geo? And I'm not mincing words over here. And this is because of machine learning. The only profit point on the internet today is machine learning. We know of machine learning. We today now have success stories in facial recognition. The machine is able to recognize faces with deadly accuracies globally. The machine, whatever it cannot learn, is forcing you to teach it. You've all seen these nasty, nefarious, devilish Google reCAPTCHAs. I'm not mincing words again. Now, Google has no purpose to enrich your lives. Please be very careful of that. Google wants you. And whatever Google cannot learn, it is forcing you to teach it. Because if you have to fill up a form and you have to fill up this reCAPTCHA, you cannot fill up the form without doing that. You have to surrender your little bit of knowledge. And this is how the machine is learning. It is learning one click, one like, one forward at a time. And the machine is getting very, very good at this. So with this, let's take the first point of the future. How are we sold? Again, no mincing of words here. My friend had a very, very pointed quote, a quote that stuck with me for forever. My friend's name is Haroon Mir. He's also a hacker like me. He lives in South Africa. I call him the prophet because he always has, some amazing revelations to me. His keynotes are worth listening to, way more than mine. Haroon made a statement to me. He says, you know what's the difference between Apple and Google? He said, Apple sells to you. Google sells you. So if you're not paying for the product, all of Google services are free. All of Facebook services are free. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So in 2010, the tech companies of Silicon Valley were making their money by targeted advertising. We all know it. We were being profiled by gender, race, religion, spending power, education, geography, political preferences, sexual preferences, lifestyle, whatever. And all these data points are collected because Facebook tells you, you seem to be interested in subjects like camping and exploring and science fiction. Can we show you more of this? They know what you like. And therefore, they know what kind of things I might be most likely to buy. This is how targeted advertising works. But targeted advertising is not where companies are making their money. 2020, the money is made in predictions. Cambridge Analytica will sell to the highest bidder the outcome of an election. They are in the business of selling assured outcomes. They can predict where the mood is going right now. And not only that, the internet is a two-way street. They can change human behavior wherever they need to. If you need to convert all the blue boxes to red that you see on the screen, all you have to figure out is who are their friends and how can you influence them. One influencer at a time. Until you see that their mood has changed. Why? Because they are going to share their mood with you. And then you see that the transition is complete, the outcome is assured. This is what supercomputing, big data, social networks, and human behavior are doing together, enriching the tech bros in Silicon Valley. Right? So if I were to chart the next evolutionary course of the internet, it is artificial intelligence. For now, I'm kind of glad that the word artificial is still in there. For how long that word artificial remains, I do not know. After which, if you want to see where things are going, I encourage you to watch two science fiction movies, which are very dear to me. The Matrix, the Terminator and the Matrix. These are the two movies. So now when we approach cyberspace, let us now explore this new planet. I told you that cyberspace is a planet within a planet. It's like a superimposed planet, different dimension. And we are all crossing that bridge into that different dimension. So first, when you explore that bridge, we need to realize what works. At least what we know is that two statements in cyberspace apply. First, nature's laws do not apply here. Nature's laws apply on Earth, not in cyberspace. Neither do your governments. Your government has little to no jurisdiction in cyberspace. They only have but an illusion of regulations that does not leave geographical boundaries. And as you know, that Kanun is not the fastest creature on the planet. Kanun always arrives at the end of the Bollywood movie, after we've been sufficiently entertained and there's been sufficient dijum going on. Right? So in 2007, cyberspace, this was actually a map which I liked from the creator of XKCD, a cartoon which I truly enjoy. he kind of created a map of online communities where you see MySpace being the dominant country, and there's a little island of Facebook, chota sa hai somewhere else. But in 3-4 years, Facebook became, as big as the USSR, and MySpace is kind of gone. The world maps keep changing so fast, and in 10 years today, this map is not relevant anymore. There's a different kind of map being drawn, where the new territories have new masters. So it's like the wild, wild west again, where the world is empty and whoever plants their flag claims the territory. So my question to you is, you're all citizens of India, and few of you have tuned in from different parts of the world. You're in different, you're citizens of your respective geography. You're citizens of the passport that you carry, right? But in cyberspace, who is your master? You're not citizens of cyberspace anymore. Please remove yourself of that illusion. You're only tenants. You belong to someone. And these are the flags that you will live and breathe under in cyberspace. It's very important to recognize whose passport in cyberspace governs you. And there's no governance in cyberspace. There's no system of laws and democracy here. In cyberspace, there is only a board of directors driving that company. And the underlying goal of the board of directors is very simple. Every economist will teach you this, is to maximize shareholder value. That's it, nothing more than that. With this, let us consider and let us take a second look at another property of cyberspace. In cyberspace, let us take a look at biological units. In humans, the smallest form of biology unit is a cell. In cyberspace, it is a pixel. And when you encounter a life form in cyberspace, you are represented in pixels, and so is the other life form represented in pixels. The pixels look the same. You will not be able to tell friend from foe. We have been gifted with these 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, primarily for threat detection. And all these senses fail miserably in cyberspace. We do not have these senses available to us. And this is why, we kind of behave very differently in cyberspace. We are very trusting. We trust anything immediately. And as a result of this, you've seen, you get these phishing attacks all the time. Send us this PIN number, send us this. You believe, you call up a helpline to rescue a dog, and then they say, Paytm se payment karna padega. We will send you a PIN number, send us the PIN number. You will immediately trust, because in cyberspace, this is as real as a genuine human being. And this is why your threat recognition will fail. There's a very interesting paper that I want to talk about. And this paper is titled Computerization, Discretion, and Freedom. This was authored by a friend of mine. This was authored by Professor Sergey Bratus and his students. It's a very thought-provoking paper. I'm going to read this one sentence from it. And this sentence says that computers modify our behaviors related to discretion, professional autonomy, and ultimately moral choice. It's very important to pay cognizance to this, and this is what is changing our behavior in virtual society. So I ask you the question, very fundamental question: where do you live? You'll say, I live in Ahmedabad, I live in Paladi, I live in Surat, I live in, Jasper, Indiana, wherever. But truth is, you're physically living in the real world and your mind is somewhere else. When we first, enjoyed the social network, all the thought leaders are saying, wow, we're now enjoying the benefits of a connected society. But in reality, it's not a connected society, it's a continuously distracted society. And your distractions are dominated by several factors. It is what you see on the screen. The power of notifications has a very tremendous effect on your mind. You will not get 1 hour to think clearly by yourself without being interrupted. Fortunately, in the days of COVID-19, where we're in isolation, you will be granted the luxury of thinking clearly. And this, I urge all of you to make great use of. Please turn off your phones for at least 2 hours a day and just think clearly. And also, please, for God's sake, turn off the TV as well, because they have nothing to say. Just disconnect electronics, go out, look at the sky, sit in your balcony and think, just like that. I'm telling you, it'll be first a terrifying experience, and then secondly, after 2 weeks have passed, it'll be a wonderful experience. So if I were to chart the distractions beginning from 2020 to now, the distractions are plenty. We started with Brexit, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, Boris Johnson, this is that, Theresa May. Very quickly, it got eclipsed with CAA. Everybody was making a huge hue and cry. And I was actually talking with a lot of friends who had very many vociferous things to say about the CAA. I said, have you read the act? No. But, this is going on, that is going on. Wait, relax. First, if you want to engage meaningfully in a debate, read the act. A lot of people here in India were talking about US, Trump jeet jayega, haar jayega. Boss, do you even vote in that country? You don't, right? So shut up. What does it matter to you? That is what the Americans have to think about. You are sitting over here. Please do not donate your mental space to a topic which is going to bring you of no yield, a topic which you have no control over. Yes, CAA you have control over. Please think about it. But think about it holistically. Think about it with reading. Just don't go by hearsay. Because today, you know what? There is no source of truth. And I will get to that point in a little while. But very quickly, come March, all of these topics were completely overwritten by Corona. And that is the only thing that is on our minds right now. So you will be influenced by the next big thing you see, and in a couple of weeks, your influence will completely change. And so this brings me to the law of physics in cyberspace. It's just that gravity distorts space around an object. Cyberspace distorts reality around you. You are living in a completely warped area of reality, and you don't even know it. The thing is, distorted reality has an impact on your mind, which you bring into the physical world. It's going to affect your behavior in physical world. It's going to affect your relationships and your own equilibrium. This I can say with surety because I am a person who has abandoned all forms of media since 1998. In a commercial sense, I'm Shyam's worst enemy because I don't watch the TV. I don't read the news. I have no desire to pick up the newspaper nor watch the TV. But I will think about making decisions with the own information that I have. And so far, the only thing that I have missed out was Michael Jackson's death. I only came to know that Jackson died a day after he had actually died. Otherwise, my life has not been disrupted much. Anyway, I would love Shyam to say something, but let me come to a few more points and then I want to have a discussion. Let me give an example again of how reality distortion happens. Okay, 26th of December, we had a solar eclipse, which was going to be visible in parts of southern India. An annular solar eclipse where the sun forms a ring around the moon. A beautiful natural phenomenon. So with the enthusiasm I have, I took my family and went to Kerala. तो मुझे eclipse देखना है बस कुछ भी करके. And on the flight there was a professor from Baroda with me, Vibhuti Ben, a very nice lady. And when we were traveling to southern India, we were the only two Gujaratis, and sitting in an airport, Gujarati gets together. We get talking, of course, exchange a few Gujarati snacks. And then she says, so what are you doing here? I said, I'm here to see the eclipse and we want to, enjoy this. So she was very excited. So then after that, the next day she sent me this WhatsApp message, and I'm sure you've gotten millions of such WhatsApp messages. Chamatkar at Mansarovar, the Mars coming very close to Earth, all sorts of bizarre natural phenomena. And this is one of them, where she sent these messages saying, you know, today on the border between the US and Canada, two suns emerged, one being real and the other is the moon. This phenomenon is known as the moon hunters, when the Earth changes axis and the moon is as bright as the sun and all that. Now, the last time I checked, the Earth has not changed axis. The only planet that I know which has two suns is the planet Tatooine in Star Wars. And I haven't really traveled there, nor has anybody else. Not enough to send a WhatsApp forward from Tatooine. This, of course, is a natural miracle generated by Photoshop. Now, Vibhuti is intelligent person. I cannot call her being ill-informed, by no means. But what happened here? She got something on her phone very quickly, seemed convincing enough, because a cell is equal to a pixel. You cannot distinguish whether this is fake or not. And in an instant, you take a decision and forward it to your friends because it is free. So now you have been influenced and you have automatically passed this influence to others around you. And others will end up repeating the same thing. This graph is a very famous graph that I have. This is a frequency of miracles chart. You know, before the camera was invented, there were miracles plentiful. There was a brief period on Earth where we enjoyed a time without any miracles or chamatkar. But thanks to the invention of Photoshop, chamatkars are great again. We now live in a very as magical world as we did in the 1800s. This is what reality distortion and social media does. Then you will say, okay, you know, experts have stated this. Let me also talk to you about how experts have evolved. Back then and now, the experts have changed. In the 80s, it was leading scientists. Today, it is your auntie on Facebook who is now the expert. And this is now what our source of trust has become. Sadly, along the line, I must say that the media kind of lost its way. In the 80s, when I used to go to school, we were always taught to read the newspaper, to be updated with current affairs, because that was a source of truth. It was reportage, a narration of events as they happened, without personal opinion and personal bias. And today, unfortunately, what happens is the analogy is the same. It is the analogy of what lobbying has done to politics, is what paid advertising has done to media. The hand who rocks the cradle is the analogy over here. The results of experts on the internet, this is a fact. For those of you who don't know it, there is a very active and a growing society called flat earthers. These are a group of individuals who fundamentally believe that the world is flat, it is a disk. And there's this one guy, Mike Hughes. He built a rocket. This is the photograph of the rocket to prove that the world is flat. He unfortunately launched that rocket in March, and he won the Darwin Award because the rocket fell back to Earth with him in it. And the parachute kind of didn't do its job. You may have a laugh at it, right? But this is this poor guy. I got to admire the fact that to prove a complete fallacy, he goes and builds a rocket, right? This is what reality distortion is. People are believing things. You will see this happening largely in the case of the COVID epidemic. And it is because today there has been no source of medical truth. Everybody is up to a guesswork game. Ye sach hai ya wo sach hai. We don't know. And in desperation, we are going to try out a few experiments. I just hope that there's a larger force that takes care of us and sees us through this. Okay. The problem why disinformation works, whether it is accidental or intended, is because of the bullshit asymmetry. And the thing is, the amount of energy that necessary to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than to produce it. So today, if you pick an argument with a flat earther, you'll say, "Arey, no way, the earth is round." This guy has all the time and all the energy to keep on bothering you. Prove that the earth is round. It's a conspiracy theory by Hollywood. Apollo moon mission never went to space. They filmed it in Los Angeles. This whole eclipse, even a circular thing can cast a circular shadow. Who has gone to space and see it? You have no proof of that. So all your arguments can be merrily defeated by somebody who so strongly believes in alternate reality that at one time you'll say, "Arey, bhai, haan, chhod yaar, world, earth is flat, go kill yourself. What do I care?" Right? This is the bullshit asymmetry at work, because you will never be able to win this argument. And a German friend of mine, kind of put the analogy like this, arguing with such a person is like arguing with a pig. It's like fighting with a pig. First, you both have to get dirty. And then after 30 minutes of fighting the pig in the mud, you actually realize that the pig likes it. So let me come to another thought experiment, right? I am going to do this thought experiment. Maybe, Sham, you can, have a few parties. Oh, sorry, I rushed through really quickly. The thought experiment is like, this is your social network, right? I'm going to ask you to identify who out of numbers 1 through 8 is the environmental scientist. Maybe panelists, maybe audience, you can give your opinion. We'll do 2 or 3 of these.
Sorry, which one? Which number is the environment scientist?
Yeah, take a guess. Yeah, who do you think? This is a mental thought experiment, right? It will, don't be ashamed. It'll kind of show you a lot of revelations about who we are. There are some chats or something coming up. Hey, and Sham, you can go ahead, take a pick.
My pick? Number 2?
Number 2 is environmental scientist. Great. Who do you think is going to be the next tech billionaire?
That's difficult.
No problem. Take a guess.
I'll pass.
Okay. Let somebody else take a guess. Any of the panelists, please. This is a fun experiment, right? Roll with it. Okay, here we have some more chat mein kuch ho raha hai. So Anushka says number 3 or number 4. Number 4, Gayatri, Kalpesh bhai, number 4. Okay, so 4 looks like the tech analyst. 8, 4. Okay, next question. Who do you think is the next Nobel Prize winner in literature? Next Nobel Prize winner in literature. Seven, 3, 6, 7, 8. So now, see, with every sharper question, right, your mind is trying to do pattern recognition, because your mind has seen images of environmentalists, of tech leaders, of Nobel laureates, and they're trying to fit passive. This is a human mind at work, right? Don't constrain yourself as to what's right or what's wrong. Who is the next explorer on Everest out of these? 1, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 5, 1, 1, 1, 5. Yeah, you see, this is your mind at work. This is the beauty of the human mind. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, you're all wrong. This had to happen, right? Because this person does not exist. These are all deep fakes. These are all generated by artificial neural networks. These are not real people, but these photographs are very convincing. They can be real, and you will never for a second guess that they're fake. And in fact, now if you put the power of social networks to them, you will end up realizing that in cyberspace, carbon-based life forms and silicon-based life forms will end up having the same chemical properties. They both have a bond of 4 in their outermost orbit. And therefore, a silicon-based life form These are two examples of active silicon-based life forms who were not detected for over 2 years. They were the administrators of networks. They were deep fakes actively interacting and changing behavior in the real world.
Wow.
So now, this brings me to a very favorite Panchatantra story of mine. You may all have heard of this story called the Dullard. There were 4 students. As usual, if there are students, there is a guru. The guru has to give them fantastic vidya, knowledge. And the guru's ashram has to be deep inside a forest. This is a setup for all stories. So in the vacation, the students are going home. They have to cross the forest. They all come across the bones of a dead animal. And each of the students in turn says, I'm very smart, I can put the skeleton together. Second one says, I'm even smarter, I can put the flesh and bones together and skin together. And they do. The third one says, I'm the smartest of the lot, I can bring this animal to life. I have the best vidya that the guru gave me. And the fourth guy says, wait, what are you doing? This is getting ridiculous. Now is not the time to show off. And all of these 3 geniuses attack this guy saying, you are the most stupid of them all. You are the dullard. You have no vidya. And that's why you want to keep us, you want to withhold us. Well, guess what? The dullard climbed the tree. The lion came to life and ate up all the 3 geniuses who built it. So now, if you start putting life into a silicon-based life form, extrapolate. Our Panchatantra has already kind of shown us some answers out there. And this brings me to a very interesting subject. Probably we are actually witnessing history right now, what is going on. I debated this topic in January under the aegis of sovereignty and what sovereignty would mean. We all know what colonization means. We as a nation have been subject to it for a few centuries. Now that was colonization 1.0, the rise of the British Empire, Pax Britannica. Colonization 2.0 is not going to be a state where you sail your ship, claim the 24 parganas, make kingdom fight against other kingdom, and then start taking over the world. Colonization 2.0, out of these 3 pillars of national sovereignty, basically national sovereignty boils down to 3 things in a very simplistic way. The space program, the atomic program, and apni sanskriti. The attack for the next colonist will be to divide and conquer society. This is the easiest. You will never breach the wall of China from the front door. You will be able to bribe a few sentries and then Genghis Khan could invade China twice. So that is what you need to look for. If you are a colonist, look for the Jaichand Amichans, and that is how you are going to get your way into the society. And this, ladies and gentlemen, can be very well engineered with cyberspace. So cyberspace in 2020, what's it going to look like? So first of all, be very well aware that deepfakes, deception campaigns, and digital destabilization will be the norm. And they will happen very frequently, very, very frequently. Our democracy gives us 5 years. US democracy gives 4 years. But 4 years is a lifetime compared to cyberspace. Things will be moving so fast that I do not even know whether a regime will be able to function stably 5 years in a row. There will be lots of hurdles and disruptions happening. Right? News media's days are dwindling. Apologies profusely to Shambhay. I humbly apologize, but I need to make this statement. Because the belief system has gone, right? The source of truth has gone.
It's 12.
And what's happening is your attention is so scattered. Today's news is reporting things with as little fact checking as the auntie on Facebook. And it is very, very fleeting. They capture attention for today, tomorrow it is a new drama. And today I want to also ask the honest question. Maybe who the hell is interested in what kind of mask Priyanka Chopra is wearing? Who cares about celebrities today? We are all trying to struggle to get our lives back. This celebrity news, band karo. We don't need it. Next thing in cyberspace, what's going to happen is unmanned armed forces. Today we have it. We have the drones patrolling the city. If you are seen in a group of 3 or 4, mama aa jayega. Tomorrow, it won't be a drone. You see the Boston Dynamics thing. I'd urge you to Google it, and you'll get an idea for what's going on. And lastly, you saw what happened with the US election 2016. This is nationwide psychological warfare at work. This is not going to be the last time psychology. No nation today is proof from psychological warfare. Why? Because its citizens are definitely distracted. And controlling the citizen's mind using supercomputing power and algorithms is trivially easy now. It's possible to swing everyone's opinion. Okay. With this being said, let's now talk about the decade beyond. So after artificial intelligence, the next wave of evolution, I hope it doesn't come to that, is Skynet from Terminator. And after that, the Matrix. We're kind of getting a first-hand experience of the Matrix now, being isolated in our own little cocoons. And the only space that we have to interact with is digital space. Imagine this. Today, if Zoom decides to put the power of real-time deepfake technology, Google can actually change your voice. Google can make you say things that you've never said. Synthesization of voice. Why? Because you trained Google using, okay, Google, get me this. Okay, Alexa, get me this. Not only does Alexa recognize your voice, they can recreate your voice and make you say stuff. What if Zoom decides to change this video feed and make me say something completely different than what I'm saying, and what you hear is completely different? What if virtual cyberspace is being altered in real time as we go ahead? It is not a question of if, it can be a question of when. If a national strategic thing comes to it and the technology exists, no nation will hesitate to flip the switch. Please be aware of that. Right. What are capabilities of today's nations? I kind of see that the talk is getting a little darker. I'm going to try and lighten it up a little bit. So today as it stands, I have kind of 6 areas of capabilities. The 5 I's, US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, and Australia, former colonies, and bye-bye. They are masters of data dominance. They dominate everything data. Fantastic interception capabilities, fantastic surveillance capabilities, fantastic real-time data manipulation capabilities. They're wizards at it. China, they're masters at hardware dominance. There's a China in every pocket. There's a China in every desktop. There's a China in every plastic bottle. They dominate the supply chain and all your hardware. They're in it. Russia, they are masters of society manipulation and psychological operations. They have mastered this game. They have weaponized trolls on the internet. And they can not only disrupt society, they can also change opinions at will. North Korea, the little hermit kingdom. You may not know them for their capabilities, or maybe their capabilities of their leader shooting its descendants with an anti-aircraft gun or firing nuclear missiles at will. But what their true strength lies in financial attacks. They were able to rob the Bangladeshi bank using the SWIFT hack for millions of dollars. And they continue to do so because they are financially starved. The only way they can finance themselves is by cyber robberies. And they have mastered the art of ransomware, mastered the art of cyber financial campaigns, and that's how they're making money. Desperate times lead to desperate measures. Israel, they're masters at developing cyber weapons, surveillance, and cyber weapons like Stuxnet and surveillance technologies. And a new player emerging in the field is Saudi Arabia, where they kind of took the hacking journalists in a very morbid way, and they do it using swords in embassies, which is terribly gruesome. And they're at the chair of the Human Rights Committee of the United Nations, which is kind of fairly ironic. But in these terms of capabilities, we see the emergence of the military digital complex. This is a very famous movie. It was an amazing movie called Lord of War. But today's digital weapons are, in the hands of players like Stratfor. For example, Stratfor has published a playbook on how to win the media war against grassroots activists. You use this playbook and you isolate the radicals, cultivate the idealists, and educate them into becoming realists, and then co-opt the realists. These are think tank publications which are available for you to read, and this is what this think tank is doing: thinkfluencing. The NSO group sells the latest weapons where you can intercept iPhones at will. That is like the Rolls Royce of exploitation today. The price list, this is old, this is February 2018, exploits capabilities to take over an iPhone or to take over a WhatsApp account. They're being sold for millions of dollars. There's a search engine which the US Customs Border Protection is using to find out immigrants. And this is provided by a company called Palantir, which has profiled an entire population, can tell you with deadly accuracy who is an immigrant and where they are in real time. You can track them, and then the law shows up and takes them across the border or puts them in cages. And of course, Cambridge Analytica, which will guarantee you an election to the highest bidder. These are the new players today. When we ask these questions, ये सब तो सबके पास है, हमारे पास क्या है? हमारे पास माँ है. This is what we have. Well, what we truly have as a nation in India, we have defense by diversity in all aspects, I'm telling you. This is a unique nation. And it is our diversity that has kind of kept us going for millennia, not just centuries, millennia. We neither go up too much, but nor will we go down too much. We will be there. It is our cultural diversity that defends us, because actually, if you want to do a disruption campaign against India, you will have to do it with 843 languages and dialects that are spoken in India. You will have to create, different types of deep fakes to appeal to different types of populations. You will have to speak different priorities to different people. And to the Gujaratis, you'll have to speak a business priority. To the Punjabis, you'll have to speak an agri priority. You will have to speak different priorities. You cannot destabilize India at once. You will have to work upon very, very different means of destabilization. That power is not yet there. Not yet there with technology today. And second, you will also see, by no means I am a medical expert, but our genetic diversity will also be our strengths against COVID-19. So for now, we're winning because of diversity. And if we as a nation were to craft our strategy on survival and defense and actually emerge as a leader, I would place all bets on making the best use of asymmetry advantage, because India does not have an asymmetry advantage in terms of information, but India does have an information diversity advantage. This advantage nobody has. And that's why everybody wants to learn from you. The Google Translates want to learn all Indic languages. The Facebooks want to get in bed with Geo and learn about Indian culture so that their machines can now make money out of the largest free democracy in the world. Right? We are price points. And this is the diversity that they have to tackle. They're gearing up for it. Now, this is why, with Sham, I also had a lot of discussions with Gujarat Literature Festival. And this is also a thing very close to my heart is, not only has Gujarati to be revived as a language for language's sake, Gujarati has to be revived as a culture for diversity's sake. Content creation in Gujarati, content consumption in Gujarati, preservation of our mother tongue and heritage. This is the diversity which will be our strength. And it's not going to be easy to disrupt that. That is something we should really focus upon as a nation. Now, this brings me to a few concluding slides. For every problem, there is a solution. But the truth is, there is a theorem of solution species. And this is my theorem. If a problem originates in one space, the solution will never be found in that same space. The solution to any problem lies in a distinctly different space than the problem itself. So if you're looking at a problem created by technology, computer viruses, a technical problem, you will never be able to tackle it technically. Antivirus will never win. The solution to tackling computer viruses is not by keeping your antivirus updated, because we've been trying that for 20 years and it has failed. Technical solution won't win a technical problem. The solution to the computer virus problem is diversity of your computer platform. Use Linux, use Mac OS, use mobile computing. It is the Windows genetic base that a virus is attacking, and because of a majority Windows install, viruses are spreading. If you simply change the base, मैं Linux use करता हूँ, आप Mac use करते हो, आप iOS use करते हो as a primary platform, there is no cross genetic viruses yet. They won't hop over, and they will stay contained, and then they will get killed and die. This is how you win over a technical problem with computer viruses, with a change of computing genetics as a solution. Okay. We have to apply this in kind of all the problems that we see. And interestingly enough, it is telling me this, that the solution to the COVID crisis, it is a medical problem, and therefore by reasoning it, the answer cannot be in the medical space. We will wait for the vaccine for sure, but we aren't going to be locked up for 3 bloody years. That's not happening, because that's the end of society as we know it. We'll figure something else out. So this is my appeal to you, dear cyberspace citizens. Willy-nilly, you're in it, whether you like it or not. You're all in it. Even the people who resisted getting into cyberspace are now on it, because that's the only way they're going to keep in touch with loved ones today. So my fundamental appeal to you is, think about things. Here is a case study which I will do to you. This arrived to me forwarded by Sham himself. Dr. Francis Boyle, creator of Bioweapons Act, says coronavirus is a biological warfare weapon. And Sham told me, what do you think about this? We both thought about this for half an hour. The one conclusion we came to is what I will present to you now. Let us play a KBC type of a game. So by the way, there was a video with Dr. Francis Boyle. There is this news article with some hyperlinks saying coronavirus, bioweapon, this, that, must read this, coronavirus, China's secret plan to weaponize this, blah, 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 blah. Okay? It's published by an outfit called greatgameindia.in. It's on the internet, looks real. So, Kaun Banega Crorepati game. Here we go. All right. Is it true? Is it false? Or is it option C, that Corona beer causes coronavirus? The truth is that company lost revenue of $132 million, बेचारे वैसे ही नाम के लिए मर गए. And the fourth is, one of you is actually Dr. Francis Boyle, in which case I will rest my case. So, ladies and gentlemen, who do you think? What is the case? True, false, A, B, C, or D? Where do we get to see the chats?
B. It's in the chat. A or B.
A or B. A or B. See, the choices are getting very, very, very difficult. It is
E. There's an answer.
E. To hai nahi. You got to choose. So, I would personally lean on stating this is false. Okay. And I'll tell you why I would lean on stating this. First of all, there is no source of truth. Who knows this is Dr. Francis Boyle? Unless such a person comes out and says that I did not say this. And that has to be verified, not just some forward. Because yesterday I got a forward saying, Raghuram Rajan had outlined in an IMF webinar that these are the courses to take. And my father showed me the same thing, saying some CEO of Reliance Retail also said the same thing. So people are changing the names and forwarding you content without them. Ratan Tata had to come out and say that, well, I never said this thing. So people are pushing things rather fast. And what happens is you are kind of going to go with what suits your narrative. But I'll give you some simple rule of thumb measures to how to check the facts. Right? So remember, it is you who have the choice. You have to make one. You cannot be sitting on the fence. Today, the auntie on Facebook is as much of an expert as the media or whatever WhatsApp forward you're getting. So in these times, it is time for us to reflect upon how we are going to check the source of truth. And we have to do it ourselves. You're not going to be able to depend upon, "Tu kya bolta hai? Main kuch bhi bolun. What's your opinion?" And you have to have one. So here's my presentation of Hanlon's razor. It's a very simple tool to help you to make a decision. A razor is something that will cut things, separate one from the other. So Hanlon's razor states that never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by incompetence or negligence or oversight or accident. Essentially, what it means is nobody's out to get you. Right? Think rationally. Only trust conspiracy theories once you have this, not a pinch of salt, but with a massive sack of salt, I would say. If you are in doubt, here is a university you should all attend. Shut the F up. If you don't know, don't forward, don't say. You can say, I'm undecided, that's fine. But don't go with an opinion which is not your own. And when you do go with it, be mentally convinced that you have digested enough facts. You don't need to prove it to anybody. Just be mentally convinced by yourself. Don't fool yourself. Don't say, I'm just going with a popular narrative here because I want to believe. And these days, you want to believe many, many things. So as such, we had been talking about cyber safety and cyber security. The CDAC has done an exemplary amount of work putting together a cartoon handbook of children, how to be digitally street smart. And I think it does not apply to children anymore. If you look for information security, education, and awareness, this handbook is already there on the internet. And it is published by CDAC. I'll be happy for our children, for us, for our elders. As honest and good cyber citizens, I know that all of India wants to help out. This is our true nature. If you cannot help out with food packets or helping the next person on the street come back, struggle with their life, at least help out your cyber citizens by educating them. If you believe in what we just discussed, please educate them that yes, dhamal band karo, think rationally, and please forget the lockdown. Please enjoy it with your family. All right, they miss you very, very, very much. You don't live on WhatsApp. You're sitting in a living room looking at WhatsApp and giggling away like morons. Please don't do that. Look at one another and tell the jokes. And for those of you who heard me in lectures, my degree of sarcasm always maximizes towards the end of a lecture. Right. So, basically, I want to wrap up saying that our own society is on our own hands. What better time than to take charge of it? These are some of my other talks. With this, I conclude. Jai Hind. And it's open to everyone for discussions. I'm at your disposal.
Thank you, Saumil. It was wonderful, as always, listening to you and all the points that you made. A lot of my students have questions.
Go for it.
Yeah. First, I have a couple of points to make while he's there. At the outset, our Dean, Dr. Rohit Singh, was with us. He had to go for another webinar, so he's just left. So he conveys his thanks to you. And he had one question.
Yes.
And he's left it to me to ask you and get an answer. That what is the what is the way forward for IT professionals in the current scenario where we stand? How life will pan out, how the IT will shape, and the new world order as it emerges. What are the challenges, or how does one survive that?
That's a great question. So, I will answer this question from an IT standpoint, but it will have to be answered from a society standpoint because nothing is now separate. I work in an IT industry. To give you an example, we have gone full remote with our company. We have about 100 employees, half of them in Ahmedabad, half of them in Mumbai. And our customers are also, we provide IT services. So one thing is, willingly, everybody has become very accepting of remote work. So, they themselves are not able to attend their offices. We used to always work in offices because we could assure the control of the environment. We could assure data privacy, security, confidentiality. Now, in the interest of doing business, we have to throw it all open. घर घर से काम करो, जैसे भी कर सकते हो. Right now, we are not seeing it, but the field is ripe for any cyber attackers because a lot of exceptions have been made to the firewalls and the rules. So just be very mindful of that. I'm not saying we have to lock down. There's no such thing as perfect secrecy, perfect security. The best security, in my opinion, is a strong and a swift response. We heighten your vigilance. That's what I would tell all IT professionals. Keep a watch on everything. As much as possible, I end up the mobile computing platform than the desktop computing platform. And as such, the tablet and the phones are kind of showing us the way. I put a lot of faith on those. Essentially, as IT professionals, please, I have one word to one support your business. Right? Enable things rather than push the existing things as we know it. यही टाइम में आपको विंडोज निकालना है, एक करके होकर निकाल दो. Move to a better platform. It is time to reevaluate everything. If you look at your IT infrastructure spending, you will realize that you have spent 95% of IT budgets in the most non-effective things. What is really working is, very simple Word document and email. सब जो बना है ना, छोड़ दो, एक बार बैठ के undo कर दो. Redesign. You have the time to do it. You have the luxury to do it. The world is put on pause. Make the most use of the pause. Go redesign your networks. Rethink it and launch a new computing platform that will enable remote use and throw away legacy systems as much as possible. झटका लगेगा, लगने दो, क्या करें?
Wonderful.
Right.
So before I pass the mic to my students, and a lot of them have many questions. Two quick things that I would like to say. One is a part of your introduction to students, as I can see many more have joined now or later somewhere in the process. Many other outside participants are also there. So Samil, one very crucial introduction of his is that he is a renowned international speaker in many conferences related to hacking and cybersecurity. And so he has a very good understanding of how the challenges are seen world over and what are the solutions they find. He has been speaking very regularly, I think, right from the beginning at the very prestigious cybersecurity hackers conference called Black Hat, and he's among the top speakers there. He also teaches his very successful classes world over, and also speaks and interacts with multiple people world over. So from that, I will actually take you to some very simple, very, very simple questions. Some of them I face from my students in a very casual manner, of course, not in a class environment. But one basic question that so many people have asked is that why are we so paranoid about our cybersecurity? At worst, what will happen? People will know about our, let's say, license and, bank account number and so on. So what? They can't access and take money. Even if they know a lot more about us, then how it's going to make a difference? This is one of the questions which I have faced in piecemeal.
Yes.
And I have my answers, but I would rather like you to give an answer, because we have a lot of students attending this, and
Right.
they have at a deep level somewhere that why cybersecurity should matter a lot. So,
Right. So, yeah, the fundamental question is, I am just a small person. मेरे से क्या होगा? What Facebook मेरे से क्या ले जाएगा?
Exactly.
No, it's not just you, folks. Remember this: you are a part of a country, and if I can change the mind of the entire city in 15 minutes, beginning with one person at a time, I'm not going to be addressing a crowd, but I'm going to game your algorithm such that in 15 minutes, I will make appear stuff on your Facebook profiles, which will either get you angry or it will get you peaceful or whatever it is. I can tweak your emotion at will. By meaning I, the controller of the Facebook algorithm. If this, is something that you value, then you should be very well protective of your own privacy and your own personal information. The more the machine knows about you, the more it can manipulate you. And manipulation is very easy. So if you want a democratic system to continue, please be very vigilant about how much you expose. There's also a very dichotomy that we have in our daily lives, right? Go to pick up children at a school. Kabhi school bus, the next time things open up and you see a school bus and children are pouring out, go there, right? Wear, these shabby clothes and look at the children like a creep, like a predator. Dekho ghur ghur ke dekho. Follow some of them. In 20 minutes, parents will be complaining to the school authorities that there are predators around, looking at our children maliciously with lust or whatever it is. Fatafat reactions will be. The same parents will be posting pictures of their children doing boogie wheel dances on Facebook for the whole damn world to see and replay. This is a behavioral difference. We do not realize it. You check in from Sardar Vallabhbhai Airport and saying we are all going on a fun family trip to Dubai. Facebook shows that plane going here to there. When you come back, your house is robbed. How did people not please value your own person? You're goddamn valuable. Let me tell you that as an individual. If you don't believe it, respect me for that and just take it as a rule. No debates.
Thank you. There's one question from one of our students, Sahiba Bhojwani. Sahiba, I'd rather want you to ask your question. Then there is Gayatri, Bhavi. Yes, Sahiba, are you there? Can you ask?
Yeah, so I'm reading out her question. Using internet comes with the cost of your personal privacy. But how do we contain our privacy and still use the internet? Because there's not much of a choice. So Sahiba, first of all, remember this. There was never a choice. Okay. The internet is a creation of the US Department of Defense. And then it got turned on to the commercial services. Please do not use a telephone and expect that there is no wiretapping going on. People can listen if they want to. People can make recordings if they want to. So what you have to do is you have to just be aware that so much information is going. You go to an airport, there are surveillance cameras. You go stand in traffic, there are surveillance cameras. Pictures are being taken, movements are being recorded. So there is no 100% semblance or guarantee of privacy. The only thing that will help you control your privacy is how much do you indulge in. And just because a service is free, you don't go and buzz everything on TikTok. If it's free mil raha hai, you don't go publishing everything on Facebook. It's free mil raha hai. Because humans have that dopamine effect, that we have to share our lives on Instagram and people like our stories, and the more likes we get, the more hyper we become. Though that is actually the cause of your undoing of privacy. If you consume only what you need, is a very, very heavy statement. I will guarantee you that you will be private enough for what it takes. Do not fall to digital gluttony.
Very interesting. Next question is Gayatri Deshmukh.
Gayatri's statement, sir, as you said, if you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. Can you emphasize it on a bit? So, how does Google make money? They make money by selling you. And in, I think, 2017, their profits were $37 of profit per user in Google. Google knows all your habits. Google is even asking you to autocomplete sentences on Facebook. They know what you're going to say. And the moment you autocomplete that sentence, Google knows what has been on your mind. Google knows where you're meeting. Google knows whom you're meeting. If they sell these behavioral habits to whoever wants to predict you, to win an election, to control the outcome, that's how they're going to make the money. Data collection is everything. And not only that, they are teaching their machines how to think based upon your actions. Right now, the machines are learning. Tomorrow, they would have learned. That's what I was trying to emphasize.
Next question is from Bhavi. He says, can you throw some light on spywares? Like I saw a TV series where they were spying by hacking the cameras of the person through a pop-up or something. Can that happen for real?
That's a very, very interesting question. Huh? And I want to answer it completely in a Saumil Shah way. So be ready for this. Give me 1 second. I want to share my browser. And give me a moment. Share screen.
Others can put their question in the question and answer panel.
Yeah. So, on the screen, on the TV, what you see, and you see a hacker, no? They are doing this. See how fast I'm writing code. I'm typing. Cut. And at some point, you will see that ye khul gaya, ye band ho gaya, blah, 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 blah. This is not how hacking works, my friends. TV, see, they did dramatize hacking to ridiculous extent. As in, nahi hota hai. If that had been happening, I would be the master of the world. Yaar, main idhar kyun baitha hota? It doesn't work that way. It's all to develop a cyber weapon is going to be years of work. To take down an Iranian nuclear reactor, Stuxnet was developed using about 5 man-years of effort, and that can be used only once. Let's see.
One use and the weapon goes for a toss.
Yeah, once used and the weapon is gone. So they don't do these things. Right. Now, what other questions, Shyam?
Chitral Kambati has a question. Are Indian cyber laws updated as much as the internet and its nuances are?
Are Indian cyber laws updated as much as the internet nuances are? Short answer, no. Long answer, they never will be. Next.
Interesting. Okay. So one of my colleagues, Professor Trishu, has a question.
Yes.
Before he joins, Sumit Mishra has a question. How do you see the future of artificial intelligence? As you say that artificial intelligence wouldn't be there. Artificial wouldn't be there in artificial intelligence in future. So when is the time approximately?
So when is the time that machines actually become sentient? 5 years, 3 years. Because I know for a fact that 10 years ago I said कि ये सब होने वाला नहीं है, and how wrong I was. So I'm just dividing that time by 2 or 3.
Okay. So
yes.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Hello?
very much. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have one query of like being a beginner for our students and for any IT professional. What kind of basic computer-based languages are essential to learn to become a cybersecurity expert?
Loaded question. See, in computer programming, and just even in literature, you ask, let's turn the question to a literature question. Which is the best language in terms of literature? It is the language of your thought. Then whatever you write in is your expression of thought. In computer programming, it is all about the algorithms. An algorithm has no language. It is just a form of mathematics and logic. Boolean logic, theory of computation, evaluation of expressions. Then whether you write it in Python, you write it in C, you write it in Pascal, you write it in COBOL. By the way, there's a need of COBOL engineers. They're being paid a $6-digit US salary these days. You write it in anything you need. You need to fundamentally understand how the computer is built up. in order to recognize its weaknesses and flaws. And that's the bottom line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
thought Toggle was extinct.
Sorry?
I thought Toggle was extinct. It's so old.
Never. Nothing is ever extinct, you know. Even a broken clock tells the correct time twice a day.
Any more questions coming? I can read one question from Meghavi Vakil. How COVID-19 is affecting mass mentality in accordance with cyberspace?
Technology is a kinetic enabler of everything. So whatever you put to technology will be amplified 100 times. If you are really suffering from mental anxiety, I mean, let me tell you, we all are. Okay, we would all be liars if we say that it's not affecting us mentally. If you immerse yourself in a technological world, the whirlpool is going to even suck you more. Don't look at technology as a space to alleviate your mental anxiety. In fact, cut off from it. Look towards your loved ones for support or trusted people who you can talk to physically. So yes, technology will exacerbate any issues you have psychological, for sure.
So next question is from Priyansh Boguna. According to you, as we are going digital media, how long it will take for machine and technology to rule the world? As the world is moving towards digital media, how long the machines will take to rule the world?
How long will machines take to rule the world? The rule I do not know, but governance for sure. You can expect it within 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
Governance, huh? I'm not talking about rule.
Okay.
Rule and governance are two very different things. But AI driven governance is going to happen very, very fast.
Right. I can feel that it's already happening in
Yes.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
More. So Gopika Agarwal has a question. If every citizen of the world is at risk since all of the information is out there in open, what is the best way to move forward and how can we ensure safety?
The best way to move forward is to hide in plain sight. And please rely upon your diversity to defend you. Nobody is going to be able to break your own culture if you hold true to it. And as India, we are a culture of several cultures. Homogenizing India has never worked. We will always be heterogeneous. We always need to be therefore respectful of one another's cultures. And not only that, we have to, let me say it straight up and clear, we have to resist Anglicization. Let's face it. World media will applaud the New Zealand Prime Minister for a tight control on COVID, as any world media appreciated Kenya, because Kenya's numbers are far lower than New Zealand in terms of COVID, and the population is far more diverse. Why not? This is the result of Anglicization. We have been brainwashed since centuries to feel that the colonial forces have been superior. Got to wipe that off. Got to take ownership. Make India great again. Okay.
Wonderful.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Bhavi has a sub question to her question that what about spywares like Pegasus? How do they work?
They work. Lots of moving parts, man years of effort into analyzing weaknesses of iOS. And cyber weapon is a very, very complex subject. We're happy to talk to you separately on that. Engineering of cyber weapons is a science by itself.
So Tanvi has a question. How can we be safe on the internet if there is so much data mining?
Right, the same thing, right? Hide in plain sight. The weakness is the amount of data we generate on the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
The earth is dying because of all the bloody petrol fumes that we're emitting. You want to save the earth? Stop emitting petrol, like we're doing right now. You want data mining to stop? Stop pushing the damn data out there. The 44 zettabytes of data, 90% of it you have put in the past 2 years. बंद करो बॉस, छोड़ो सब शेयर करने का, काम की बात करो वरना कट लो. The thing is, it's funny, but the answers are all in common sense, right? You may seem that I'm making light, मैं सब dismiss कर रहा हूँ question. No, the fundamental truth is just that. Technology will not solve a technical problem. Behavior will. Right?
Okay. So Chitral has a question. I've often noticed content popping up on my Android device, especially on YouTube, that I did not search on the internet but talked about. Is it that the device switches on the microphone sometimes, or is it just the algorithm that predicts?
Both. The microphone is on, your OK Google is on all the time. That's why Android phones are so dirt cheap. Yeah. Why do you think iPhones are expensive? Hardware, though, Android phones have better hardware. Google subsidizes everything. सुंदर भाई है ना, बहुत सुंदर है. Let me tell you that. So, yeah, the mic is on, the predictions are on. You know, even when you pick up the phone, the accelerometer tells you that the phone has been picked up. How much you scroll, how much you pause, people know what you're paying attention to. Everything is instrumented. So consume what you need. Okay, that's the only way going forward.
Very interesting. There are two more questions. If you're okay, let's take some more.
Yeah.
Saiba has a further question. Can we expect further interventions as the machines are becoming learned and a warlike situation using data? As in, I guess what she's trying to ask is, will use of data create warlike situation because of machine interventions?
Now, see, traditionally, war is not the same war that you're aware of, right? You don't need a war to disrupt a regime. If I have broken your thoughts, I win. If you think of Pax Seneca as the next colonial wave, then they've already done it. They made you so dependent upon their supply chain, their hardware. They're into everything. If they start tweaking your thoughts and modifying your behavior, the thing is, there will never be a war, as in the traditional sense we know it. It will be an ongoing battle forever. Read 1984, George Orwell, a massively influential novel, which describes that there will be no beginning or no end. It's just going to be a continuous battle of forces who is trying to control the narrative, and effectively who is going to try to control your behavior. You just have to take your bets and go with one. Because in today's idealistic world, we are not allowed to sit on the fence much. We will have to act. So, जो करना है थोड़ा सोच के, लेकिन करना पड़ेगा. That's the deal. I don't have further answers than that.
Okay. So Gayatri Deshmukh has a further question. Do you think that the initial Brexit results and US elections influenced by the activities of Cambridge Analytica? If yes, how?
Definitely, Cambridge Analytica did swing everything. They swung the Leave vote and they swung the US elections, for a fact. This is literally, see, when you're talking about people voting, you just have to catch the people who are sitting on the fence. Bulk of the 45% of votes on each side, you know, कि ये कौन करने वाला है, क्या करने वाला है. You just have to palto those few. And to palto those few, you have to catch who the influencers are. For every 100 people, there will be one influencer. एक influencer को घुमाओ by gaming their algorithm, feeding them even full disinformation. Because all you need to know is 1 week before the election, you just, establish yourselves on the minds of the people for that 1 week. That results in a vote being cast, something that will not be done for another 4 or 5 years. And that's the end of it. So if you control the mind for that 1 week short attention span, you win.
Okay. Sumit Mishra has one more question. Do you think that metrics predictions are gonna be true? No, that's a sci-fi area.
We are going to have a matrix for sure. Let's not make any bones of it. Perhaps not in the Keanu Reeves and the machines, the Agent Smith type of way, but in COVID, you're getting a first taste of life in the matrix. From here onwards, we can extrapolate and how it's going to shape up for sure.
So there's a very, very interesting question, and see, if a person, this is from Priyansh Boguna, if a person proves his worthiness that he is a good guy by nature and knowledge, is it okay to give him the power to collect all data? Or that comes from
Now you have changed the question, the focus. The person is good natured. Okay. What is the process? We have to trust a process, not a person. If the process has been demonstrated transparent enough, and the process is verifiable, and it is within the legal framework that you subscribe to, whether you like it or not, you will have to do so, or you should do so. If not, you have to go against it and vote or change the framework. It is not a personal thing, it is a process thing. That's Google themselves. Let me tell you, they began their company with a motto. Larry and Sergey began their company with a motto saying, "Don't do evil." 10 years ago, very quietly, that motto was dropped. And a company that was known for its absolute evil deeds 20 years ago, Microsoft, has now become Satya. They are the angels. They have actually opened up all their patents. They're embracing the open source community. Look at how things have changed. So keep that in mind. It's not the person, it's the process. The more open, the more transparent, the more trustworthiness it will get.
I like that answer. It's very crucial. It should not be dependent on a person.
It's a process.
So has the Shivangi Agarwal has a question. Has the traditional war been replaced with cyber warfare?
Cyber warfare is orders of magnitude cheaper. Nobody needs to die for it. So it is not replacement, but it is definitely an operation. See, when you really want to wage kinetic war, no, what are your objectives? You want to conquer a nation? India को conquer करके मिलेगा क्या है? You get 1.3 complaining Indians to manage? God no. No way. What you want is control of the economy. You want paisa chahiye. You want shipping capabilities. You basically want the Sultan to kowtow to the emperor. You want subjugation. And subjugation can happen through cyber means and then political, economic arm twisting. Sooner or later, Pakistan will have to give up its port to China. They will dig through the Ladakh corridor to build their highway. Bangladesh ki bhi baat hai, because they want access to the Indian Ocean. This is how they're going. They're not going to invade. This is how they're going to move. So yes, cyber and geopolitics, both. A real war will not be fought. Unless, like dear leader Kim decides to press a few buttons.
Okay.
Then we are done.
So there is one very interesting and rather longish question from our Sahid Vaidya.
Okay.
We know, although how much we try to resist, some way or the other, artificial intelligence is going to take over soon. Because people with good intentions or bad, and our personal space or private life is going to be compromised. It isn't already. This is definitely a problem, but it is also an opportunity. Is there any way we could find solutions in form of a business startup where we provide services to stop our profiling and limit private information people put up on internet?
Sure, you can. Just remember the one theorem that technical problems cannot be solved technologically. Go for it. If you figure it out, you win. The mantra today is to go local. We actually went a little bit too global and therefore created so many of these codependencies. A country like India is kind of not feeling the brunt of COVID as much as America because everything was dependent upon China. Sub China se bik raha tha. They were struggling. We, thanks to the fact that we remain a little local, we kind of have a bit of an edge over things, or we have better survival chances. So think local. That is the the thing that's going to keep you safe.
Mhm.
Keep your economies local, so they're not being predated upon by global forces. I honestly do not trust the bankers. They're just gambling with people's money in the stock market. So think very, very carefully about what you're going to invest in. Hold them accountable. Like, kya kar rahe ho, sir, boss? Make him be transparent towards it. All right, and then you have an opportunity for sure. Transformation has to happen.
Chitral Khambati has a question. We have seen
Yeah.
the use of social media and revolutions like in Egypt in 2011. Is the internet that good place, or is it about the balance of internet power between citizens and the government?
The internet was created by the US Department of Defense. It's a military project. Then when it was turned to be a commercial project, the ISPs controlled the internet for the while because they have to monetize it. The internet is controlled by those who monetize it. And that's why you have these services. Today, if I ask you to pay 1 rupee for every WhatsApp message, kya hoga? Nope, you're not going to do it, right? So you are under the control of WhatsApp. If you want to use their service, you have agreed to their terms and conditions. There is no good place on the internet. The good place is in society. That's the truth of it. So you think that the internet is all about democracy and privacy and freedom and all that? Please be assured you're grossly wrong.
Okay. There are a couple of questions, but I would like students to ask question directly if they want to switch on their mic and ask. Feel free to do that.
We'll take about 5 more minutes and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. 3 more questions.
Sure.
Okay. I think either they are not in position to ask or they don't want to ask. Fine.
The typing is actually much better. It makes for a good flow. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there anyone? Kalpesh sir, you have.
Actually, I mean, they do not. They are not allowed to talk. So I'll have to make
The
Okay.
webinar will not allow that.
Can you ask the question?
Certainly, sir.
Just be pinging, sir. So the attendees can raise their hands through their application, and based on the raised hands, we'll be able to allow them to speak up on the audio.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sahid wanted to ask a question. Sahid, can you hear and switch on your mic or raise your hand to ask a question yourself?
Now he's allowed to talk, sir. He can ask directly.
Yeah, Sahid is there. Sahid, please go ahead.
Type that question.
Yeah, please go ahead, Sahid. We can hear you now.
I typed that question about the opportunity. So it was
Okay, got it. That was answered, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. I think we're done with questions. Does anyone have anything else?
Yeah. So I'm asking Gayatri to ask.
Yeah, sure. Gayatri, please go ahead.
Sir, so is there any way by which you can recognize what is actually a deep fake and what is like the real authentic source of information?
That's a problem that people are trying to solve. The nature of the deepfake itself is that it is super convincing. There is forensic sciences. If you take a photograph, you can see using density analysis where pixels have been altered and things like that. In a deepfake video also, there are algorithms to detect synthetic voice and all. But the truth is, it's a hit or miss. It has success rates and failures rates. So again, technology will not be 100% able to guarantee whether a deepfake is there or not. Now, I'll tell you what, if I were to use deepfakes in a campaign against you, I would just create and bombard so many deepfakes that you will be flooded with them. Which one is true, which one is not, I don't care. Even if you detect all of them are false, that's okay, but I've just merrily wasted your whole day. So we don't have the answers about deepfake technology, but we will have to figure it out very, very quickly. And I think it is going to be based upon more and more, it's all going to point to trust that is established in real life is what's going to win, as opposed to trust on the virtual life.
Sir, I also have one more question. That
Sure.
is it possible for India to reach at the data dominance point at any time in future?
Is it possible in terms of just the amount of volume of data? I don't think you will be able to ever catch up with
In terms
Google.
of controlling, like you said that there were 6 countries, US, UK, and all that sort. So, is it possible
We
to?
will have to go local. We will have to basically dislodge those who control us, and we'll have to control our own destiny.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to control the world. India was never interested in dominating the world.
Okay. Right.
So I guess we end there. I don't see many new questions coming up. So this was
I'm
fantastic.
waiting for your question, Shyam.
Yeah, I have lots.
I-
But there's one more question from Shivangi Agarwal. How is nothing good on internet, but the good is in society? Because isn't it that the society people have actually used the internet in a destructive way and ruined its actual motive?
Uh, See, when the internet left the US military space, for a brief period of time, the internet was only available to academia worldwide, research organizations and scientific research labs. And it was a fraternity of handshakes. It was more of a bonding over just technical excellence, and people would help each other out. There was a high level of trust. The moment it stepped into the commercial space, I got onto the internet during those education days with IIM Ahmedabad earlier on. And once the commercial thing stepped into the internet, it is exactly what lobbying did to politics. Today, if you're a student of political sciences, if you argue for or against lobbying will throw money and influence policy making to the highest bidder. And the internet, when it became a .com, was then about monetizing the internet and cashing out. And therefore, the motives got established very clearly that we are out here to make money of the technology. And that's what has shaped its course today. Because after all, somebody's going to pay for it, right? You can't just keep on it costs money to deliver all this data to you.
So, Samil, I'll take the liberty of stretching this for a few more minutes.
Please.
Some questions coming from Facebook.
Okay.
First question, and Kalpesh sir will present other questions from the Facebook page. As in the Facebook Live, people have questions. The first one I'm asking on behalf of a user, Dharmendra Sheth. His question is, where is privacy when a user is usually asked to allow, quote unquote, so many things before installing most common applications?
Yep.
So, so where is privacy when one has to do such a thing willingly or unwillingly?
There is no privacy.
Right.
Don't expect it. Just literally use the minimal that you want, because that's how it is, right? If you expect to go out on the street or use public transport and not be photographed, you cannot do so. If you go to a restaurant, pay with your credit card, you will have to divulge that. Your bank has your spending habits. Aadhaar has everything. लोग के पास भी है, तो देना पड़ेगा थोड़ा काम करने के लिए.
Kalpesh sir, are there more questions coming from Facebook?
Just a moment, sir. In fact, meanwhile, Chitral had asked a question which we kind of missed. So Chitral has asked that we have seen the use of social media
That's already been answered. Yeah.
in 2011. So is the internet?
Yeah, I answered.
You have, all right.
It's been answered. So, Samil, I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
On behalf of all my students, I would like to ask a very simple thing. If you can give very simple, easy to implement 3 to 5 tips on how to ensure that we stay safe in the cyber world. Let's say something 1, 2, 3 that students can actually go at the end of this session and implement. What would they be? To put it the other way around, what are the typical mistakes you see us as doing as Indians online, which you think we should ideally not be doing?
So first, I'll narrate you from my own personal experiences. I never signed on to social media until 2015, where I had to do a photography exhibition, and the only way to invite people is now on social media. But before I joined social media, I took an oath. I made a promise to myself. I need to identify the purpose of participation. Okay. And I will not indulge into anything which does not fit my purpose of participation. My purpose of participation was discussing photography. And eventually, because I am into cyber security, that extended towards, discussing information security. So today on Facebook, I will never participate in any political argument. It is not meant to deal with. Number one. Photography, cybersecurity, yes, I will do so. Second, I will not share anything that is not it is not originating from me. I will not forward unless it is super, super, super compelling so that I have to write a report and sign it in triplicate. I will not forward something. Unless it's has to be absolutely critical. And maybe once a month is what I'm going to limit myself to. On Twitter, I also have an identity on Twitter. The Twitter is purely for information security and purely for information security announcements. When I'm teaching a class, when I'm doing a next talk, and to look at what my other colleagues in information security are doing, new paper they have released or new technique. There's a lot of noise. I have a very little signal to noise ratio on Twitter, but on Twitter, it is consumption of InfoSec news and dissemination of InfoSec announcements. And on Instagram is nothing but just sharing my photography. And that's it. I have no other need of participating in social media at all. So first, as Indians and as cyber citizens, take an oath what you are going to discuss. Can be anything. But write down only 2 things for every platform that you're going to do. No more than that. And then hold yourselves true to that. Yahi karo, bas aur kuch mat karo.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Second, for God's sake, go to your phones and applications, uninstall everything, and then एक दिन के लिए wait करो. See, कितना तड़पते हो. What is it that is, the most essential thing, and then install just that thing back. You will junk out 90% of the things that are already spying on you in the background. Because what really happens, you install something because somebody told you to do it, you then never use it, but that thing is just keeping on, it's that monkey on your back which is continuously snooping and transmitting data back. Dislodge that. Get rid of it. That's the only 2 things I have right now to share.
Great. That I have many questions, but I think looking at the time now and your time and engagements, we will have to end the webinar here. But I guess we can continue the interaction.
We have to have a second dialogue about this.
We'll be very happy to do something of specific interest to our students. So we will connect soon with you on how we can take this forward as another class. Before I say thanks, I would request Mr. Suraj Bhan, who represents the technology side of our university and the allied business group of JHM Hotels, to come online and say a few words.
Thank you so much, Samil Saab, for a wonderful session on my interest also, if you ask me, because this is my core department. So I have few questions for you, but then in that case, I'll be able to connect offline.
Please. Please.
But then thank you so much, because this is enlightening not only for the students of journalism and mass communication, but for the students of IT also. Then I was able to see a lot of faculties also joined us from School of IT, and they were like asking me to get more knowledge onto their subjects. So I'll be able to forward it to Sham sir, and then internally he'll be able to get in contact with you to check if you'll be able to enlighten there also.
Not a problem.
But thank you so much, Samil sir, to be online and giving us all your information.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you again. Thanks to the university and the members, and thank you, Sham, for always pulling me in. Appreciate that very much. And thank you all for your time and attention. I know a few of you have tuned in from overseas. Thanks for staying up late at night as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir, and thank you, everyone. We connect soon tomorrow with another webinar with Mrs. S.L. Vaya. She is one of the topmost forensic psychologists. In fact, one of the first few women forensic psychologists, and she has cracked some of the most interesting cases that independent India has seen, criminal cases, with use of forensic psychology. She is going to, lay open the knowledge and understanding of psychology, which is generally not accessible to common people, the forensic side of it. She's going to use it to help us learn how to cope with the current situation and beyond it. So that's going to be a very interesting session, first of its kind. So I hope to see you all there. And until then, bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye.